Rocky Top Insider instant reaction to Evansville's 10-8 win over Tennessee baseball in Game 2 of the Knoxville Super Regional, evening the Super to force a pivotal Game 3 on Sunday. Winner goes to Omaha tomorrow night in Lindsey Nelson Stadium. Ryan, what a game. I'm pretty speechless. The game ended, 20, 30 minutes ago? I'm still pretty speechless. Of course, Tennessee has a middle inning meltdown with their bullpen arms. Nate Snead, one of the worst performances he's had all season, arguably the worst given the circumstances. They come back in the ninth a little bit, score 3 runs in the top. Simo, who's the go-ahead run with the bases loaded, can't get it done in the end, but just an incredible game if you like drama, but obviously Tennessee doesn't get it done.
Yeah, no, an awesome, crazy type of game, just with some of the back and forth, and, it felt like Evansville was all but dead early in the game, and then it felt like Tennessee was completely dead going into the ninth inning.
Yeah.
And then obviously they make a run, and it comes down, they get their star player up at the plate with the bases loaded with a single to tie the game and an extra base hit to take the lead. So just a crazy back and forth, and I think, certainly there were some disappointments from the offense in the middle of the game, but I think it really is the pitching that you pinpointed. That's what let Tennessee down today. And my dad had texted me this question, and I didn't know off the top of my head and haven't had a chance to look at it. Maybe you'll know it. When's the last time, outside of the SEC tournament game to Vanderbilt, where Tennessee just threw midweek arm after midweek arm, when's the last time Tennessee gave up 10 runs in a game? My guess is Georgia. Game 2 against Georgia.
Yeah, they won 16-11 in Game 2 against Georgia, I think. Since then,
I think that Auburn opener was like 8-3. I don't think Auburn got double digits.
I think Game 2 Georgia would be the last time they've given up 10 runs, and that was the day before Easter Sunday.
Yeah, so that's the day before Easter Sunday, the day before Tennessee, the day between Tennessee's Sweet 16 and Elite 8 games.
Yep.
Just to kind of put a picture on how long it's been. So in a crazy game where there were certainly frustrations and letdowns at multiple spots, I think, the big one you circle is just Tennessee struggling on the mound.
Yeah, Evansville scored 10 runs in innings 4, 5, and 6 combined, 3, 3, and 4. And, Drew Beam, it was kind of similar to last week where he looked really good early, and you think he can go deep into the game, runs into some trouble, ends up giving up 5 earned runs on the day. Maybe he should have been pulled a little bit earlier, but the guys who relieved him, Kirby, it was more of a matchup thing. He only faced one batter, Kip, right?
I think it was McGinnis.
It was McGinnis? Maybe.
I could be wrong.
We can go back to it. It doesn't really matter. But it was one batter, matchup based, why he came in. And then Nate Snead comes in, and you think Nate Snead's going to be able to really...
I think you're right. It was. Yeah, it was Kip.
Kip.
Yeah, sorry to jump in, but thinking it back, yeah.
Crazy last name Kip has. Going to have to type that more tomorrow, so that's great. But anyway, Nate Snead comes in, and you think Nate Snead's going to be able to settle everything and just do what Nate Snead does, but he's only able to get 3 outs on the day, gives up 3 earned runs, 4 hits. To me, that was really the big thing, was Nate Snead just being bad for Tennessee today.
Yeah, and you say you got 3 outs, and one of them was Kavaris Tears throwing out a runner at second on a double right around where we're standing at. Another one was a sharply hit grounder right at Dean Curley at shortstop. He did not miss a whole lot of barrels today. And I think he threw around 25 pitches, maybe 23. 28.
Final
so I imagine they'll be available to throw some tomorrow, and certainly a bounce-back opportunity. But, yeah, I think that's the pitching as a whole let Tennessee down. I think that's the big one, and the fact it was most surprising. And I guess the thing I'll say about Beam, this was going to be a takeaway from mine, maybe not my story, but just a general takeaway from mine. Even if Tennessee won this game, and it's probably obviously a little bit less meaningful, Tennessee just needs more from Drew Beam. They need him to be better, and obviously it shows up in a bigger way today. He was close to getting out of that 5th inning. It was just 1 on with 2 outs, and obviously he gives up the 1 hit to allow 1 run to score, and then things unravel on the bullpen, as you just discussed. But Tennessee needs more from Beam, who struggled pitching with a lead these last couple weeks.
And even Andrew Binke, who relieved Snead with 2 outs in an inning, I believe, gives up 2-run homer in his first batter. So he was better than Snead, I think, because in the next inning he was able to work out a jam, but even Andrew Binke wasn't great. J.J. Garcia was the most impressive pitcher compared to what they are, getting a 1-2-3 inning later in the game. But, yeah, Tennessee's pitching just didn't do it today. Credit to you in our – sorry about the – what is that? Is that a –
I think it's Build Crew. It's a gator. I think that's what it's called.
Okay, sorry about the gator behind us. But you called it in our podcast about how if Tennessee loses this series, I said – Tennessee loses Super if blank, and you said it's the pitching being the downfall. Of course, Tennessee hasn't lost it, but the pitching was the downfall today. So that's where the woes were.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I think maybe just pivoting and talking about what the pitching's left for Tennessee. Obviously, it'll be the same for both teams. It'll be all hands on deck tomorrow in an elimination game. Xander will start for Tennessee. In my opinion, I think the only two guys that will be burned and won't throw at all would be Beam and Causey. Heck, maybe even Causey comes in for a batter if you need a strikeout or something like that in this type of situation.
I don't know if you noticed this, but Tony did say we haven't gassed anybody out.
Okay.
And, of course, Beam feels like
he threw 7 pitches today.
I feel like Tony was more so just talking about bullpen guys, so maybe Causey could be available for a couple.
Yeah, I mean, I think if it really comes down to it, it's a tight game. You're not leaving anything left on the table. So, Snead probably can't throw a ton. Kirby probably can't throw a ton. Combs maybe can't go super long relief, but I think he'd be able to throw at least a couple innings. So it's going to be an all-hands-on-deck thing, and certainly all eyes to start today will be on Xander Seacrest, who's had 3 straight really good starts, and certainly, even though Tennessee has a lot of hands on deck, not a ton of guys that can give them a ton. There's going to be a lot of pressure on him against a good Evansville lineup to just kind of ease Tennessee into the game and give the Vols a chance.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And Evansville's pitching tomorrow doesn't look good either. Their day 3 starter got shelled last weekend against East Carolina in day 1, or their second game against East Carolina, as Ryan grabs my sheet, on Sunday night that forced the Monday game in the Greenville Regional. So he got, hit around last week. I imagine Tennessee could probably do the same. If they come to the ballpark, ready to go, I think that's a big storyline is, you've got to lean Tennessee tomorrow given the talent and what the pitching is left for each team. But a loss like this, it could be maybe detrimental to the vibes, and that's a big thing in baseball.
Yeah, no, I mean, all the pressure in the world is going to be on Tennessee tomorrow. There's no doubt about that. I mean, number 1 overall seed against the number 4 seed, winning the first game big, getting up, or winning the first game handedly, maybe not big, getting up with a sizable lead early in this one. They'll have all the pressure, and, that's not always a great place to be in baseball. I think you have some sense of feeling good because Tennessee has responded to pressure. They've responded to failure well this year. They've been good in Game 3 of series. I believe 5-1 in Game 3 of weekend sets this season.
Bama's the only loss.
Yeah, Bama being the only loss. And then obviously it wasn't a series when they won the opening weekend in Arlington, but they won a Game 3 against Baylor. So you feel good there. Everything's a whole lot greater. All that pressure, all that intensity is mounted. But I think the other thing that obviously Tennessee doesn't win the game in the 9th inning, so Evansville's super happy with how the 9th inning went. They got the win. I think 2 things it's big. I think it's 1, it's big because Shane Harris, who's the top bullpen arm for Evansville, who threw, I think it was 44 pitches yesterday, came back in. How many did he end up having to throw? 24, and you hear people who know a whole lot more about baseball than me say this all the time. 24 high-intensity pitches. Those pitches were not built the same as pitches, and you come in a clean inning in the 3rd inning of a game. Right. So, again, like we've kind of said with Tennessee, maybe he's not completely gassed, but it's kind of like Causey. It's hard to imagine he gives them much of anything. And
Jacob Meyer, who did a great job to settle down Tennessee today, also pitched last night. And he threw 57 today, so I imagine he's spent.
Yeah, both those guys you got to think are pretty close to being spent. You maybe even wonder if Deverman, who threw around 80, could maybe.
Yeah, I think 89 was the count for him. Hansman is the one name I would keep track of because he's the guy
who kind of saved the day.
Really great on Monday against ECU, and today only threw 24 pitches, so I imagine he'd be able to go tomorrow.
Yeah, it feels like he's going to be the guy out of the bullpen that eats a ton. But going back to the 9th inning, I think that was big. And I think it was also just big for Tennessee. That's some success. I mean, they fall behind by, 1 run going into the 6th inning, and they threaten. They have runners on 2nd and 3rd. A bang play at first gets out of the inning. But then when things kind of spiraled on them with the 4-run inning after that, 7th inning, 8th inning, not much of a response for Tennessee. 3 up, 3 down both times. So it felt like they were something that hasn't happened hardly at all to this team all year. It felt like they were rattled in that moment. But Tennessee responded the right way in the 9th. Obviously, they didn't end up getting them a win, but it feels like maybe that relieves some nerves, or at least is a good sign on top of having to wear out a couple Evansville bullpen arms in the process.
After that wild walk Cannon Peoples worked to load the bases with 1 out, would you have pinch hit Dalton Bargo for Cal Stark?
I would have pinch hit Dalton Bargo for Cannon Peoples.
For Ariel.
For
Cannon
Ariel,
pinch hit for.
Yes, and Cannon for Cal. But, I didn't think it was a crazy decision by any means. Cal had doubled off the top of the wall earlier in the game.
I mean, Bargo hasn't had an AB all weekend, right?
Bargo hasn't had an AB all weekend, and heck, I know Cal Stark's not the best hitter in the world, but I'd imagine his numbers are just as good as Dalton Bargo's over the last 2 months. So to me, it's, if
I didn't have a problem with it either.
Yeah,
I was just asking.
Yeah, I think almost what kind of is the tiebreaker is Harris's slider was so good, and it felt like from the right-handed side it was very, very hard to hit, and that's where you saw he was trying to throw it in the back door to Cannon, and Cannon was able to battle back. So, it's splitting hairs. That's probably what I would have done. It's easier to say in hindsight after the strikeout, but I certainly didn't think it was any sort of crazy decision.
Evansville forces a Game 3 here in the Knoxville Super with a thrilling 10-8 win over Tennessee. For Ryan M. Jack, we'll see you tomorrow.